Knowledge for Men, episode 79.
Welcome to knowledgeformen.com, where you're going to grow into the man you want to be. Your life will never be the same again. I can guarantee it.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Jordan Harbinger. He's one of the founders of The Art of Charm, and this is actually the second time he's been on the show and the first guest inside the Knowledge for Men guest list to be repeated. So there you go, Jordan. And I just got back from one of the Art of Charm attraction boot camps in Los Angeles, and I was really compelled with the work that they're doing. So I wanted to get Jordan back on the show, gave him a buzz, and thought it'd be great to learn more about him and dive deeper into his head.
I'm glad to be back, man. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. And so Jordan's first episode is episode 13. So to get like the full story of how Art of Charm started and in that sense, then check out episode 13. But for now, we're going to continue on with this episode, and it's going to be a little bit structured a little bit differently since he's already been on the show. But sure. As always, we'll dive in with a second favorite success quote.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, success quotes, I got these things coming out of holes I didn't know I had. But there's one from Lao Tzu, if you guys are familiar, and he says, "He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still." And I think that's awesome because I agree that there's a lot of folks out there, like, especially if you're just working a day job and you've got a bossy boss, you've got somebody out there who's, having power over you, or a military sort of infrastructure, or even your parents, depending on sort of what stage of life you're in. There's some truth to this, people who control others, there's definitely power there. There's no mistaking it. But if you can control the way that you react to things, especially in stimuli in your life, you're going to have a much easier time. And that's true for business. And it's also true just for interacting with the opposite sex. If you have a girlfriend and she freaks out about something and you don't let it get to you and you don't let it cause drama inside your relationship, you're just going to be such a better man for that. And people like that about leaders as well, their non-reactivity, because it helps them become predictable, not in a boring way, but in a stable way.
I like that. So you're kind of less reactive to others, other opinions, other people, other emotions, and just more grounded in yourself and what you believe in.
Yeah, or it just sort of depends on your reaction to their reaction, right? If you get some bad news, rather than being like, "Oh my God," and having a freak out, you can't not react to it, but you react in a calm, clear way because you have mastery over yourself. And that's actually a really big deal, because a lot of people never think about trying to figure out how to solve problems that they're causing just by making situations a bigger mess than they already are. For example, somebody makes you angry, you can either just deal with it in a mature way, or you can freak out and make the situation worse. That's a really sort of blatantly easy example, but I think people get where he's going, where Lao Tzu is coming from, picking up what Lao Tzu was putting down.
Yeah, just don't mess with the Asian philosophers.
Exactly.
All right. And so, Jordan, we've already got your story in episode 13, and I just recently interviewed Johnny Zubak, one of the other founders of The Art of Charm. So the story is said. Let's now jump in and learn more about I'm interested in the lessons you've learned on this journey, because it's been some time since you started The Art of Charm, and you've learned a lot since then. So, you started Art of Charm, it was like 2000, the mid 2000s, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, we started in 2006, really kicked it off in 2007, and the show's been going really strong ever since. But it almost seems like, I feel like I go in waves where it's like, this aspect of the business is happening. This aspect of the business is something that I'm focusing on. I've really noticed, and this is almost like a new age cliche, but it's whatever you focus on grows, and that's good or bad. So I've noted that a lot of the things I focus on in my business, if I focus on certain projects or certain areas of the business, those things will grow. But also your problems, your insecurities, things about other people that you dislike, et cetera, if you focus on those things, those grow as well. So I try to keep that in mind when I have issues with somebody, or if I'm looking at something or thinking about a specific problem all the time. I try to think about it in that light, because oftentimes knowing that I'm just making it worse is enough to help solve the problem in the first place, or at least get me to stop worrying about it.
Yeah, so true. And let's now dive deeper and pull out some of the biggest lessons you've learned since you started The Art of Charm.
Man, I mean, fear of failure is just kind of all but eradicated. Even now, I remember years and years ago, it was like, what if our website doesn't work this today? We have to fix it. And it would cause all this stress. And now I'm just kind of like evolved to the point where, and years later, it was like, what if this aspect of business, this initiative doesn't, brood success and we have to launch something else? And that was a big deal. And now I'm kind of like evolved or devolved maybe to the point where it's like, what if your whole business goes under? And I'm like, we'll be fine. It's just because you can't, I feel like your worry nerves get stressed to the max to the point where it's like doing yoga for whatever nervous system that is, where you're just like freaking out, nervous about something. And then it stretches out to the point where you just can't worry about anything anymore because you don't have the ability to do so and still function. And I think a lot of people probably worry themselves out of business. But if you don't do that, then you probably have a really high tolerance for risk and worry in the first place. And that's one of the things that makes entrepreneurs successful. And I know there's a trend going around right now. This is sort of a recent realization where it's like, oh, be an entrepreneur, quit your day job, start a podcast, make tons of money or whatever. And honestly, it's such a load of garbage because most people aren't wired to be entrepreneurs. Most people don't have the risk tolerance to be successful in business. And so I don't think that everybody should run their own business. And I know that that's sort of like blasphemy to a lot of people, especially in the iTunes careers and business segment of podcasts. But I believe it to be true. I mean, there's so many people out there that are just mailing it in or don't have what it takes to make it. And it's kind of sad to see. Not that people are trying, but I think that people feel like, oh, I'm a failure because I have a day job. And it's just not true. So I think, some people are cut out for it. Some people aren't. And, you got to assess your risk tolerance. But more than that, I see that happening in relationships too. So people who are married to non-entrepreneurs will share the ups and downs of their business, and it can wreak havoc on a relationship. I'm in a group called EO, which stands for Entrepreneur Organization. And a lot of people in there, we have something we call forum where we kind of air our business dirty laundry, business, personal, whatever, dirty laundry to each other. It's almost like AA for entrepreneurs. It's all confidential. And the reason that we do it, when I first started, I was like, that's cool. I can talk about business problems with people that understand. And now, though, I totally realize, especially being in a long-term relationship myself, sometimes you need that group of people with which to share business ups and downs. Because if your wife's home from a long day at work, she's taking care of kids, or she's home cleaning, cooking dinner, and you come home and you're like, oh my God, we just lost a major deal and we might go under. I'm freaking out, and then the next
sell the house. I'm sorry.
Right, yeah. Like 2 days later, you're like, it's all good. And she's like, I haven't slept for 48 hours. And you're like, it's all good. Like what the hell is wrong with you? And sometimes it's because, as entrepreneurs, we have these ups and downs and these lefts and rights and these zigs and zags. But like for normal people, they don't really like that. They're not wired to withstand that. That doesn't help them. They don't get a rush from it. They don't enjoy it. So the fact that they have a day job at an accounting firm is exactly what they might need. And we can't, as entrepreneurs and business people, we can't share that with everybody. Because when you've got a success, you sound like a braggy douche. And when you have a downtime, people are like, oh my gosh, they're pawning their jewelry when you're like, I feel better now that I've had a beer and a bike ride. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be really careful with that. So I think that whole don't fear failure thing is great, but I just don't think everybody is wired for it.
Yeah, I think not everyone can be like multi-millionaire, billionaire, but as far as earning six figures, doing something that they like, I believe most people can get to this level with a lot of hard work and dedication and surrounding yourself with the right people. But other than that, I mean, I understand what you're saying because like there are a lot of hard times that come with building a business, and the stress level and the risk tolerance does have to be high. So I see your point there. So Jordan, what other lessons do you have?
Other realizations that I've come towards especially are, just that like there's all kinds of things. And I wrote about some of them in this article, 5 things you need to know about your 20s. Some of it has to do with your 20s, and some of it honestly has to do with just what I learned in my 20s, especially by being an entrepreneur. And some of it has to do with like forgive your parents. That has very little to do with business. But I don't know. We can talk about that stuff if you're interested, and we can avoid it if you're not.
No, actually, I think that's a good point. Let's dive in.
Yeah. For example, the forgive your parents one, it's kind of funny because I'm like, I remember 5, 6 years ago, I'm like, wow, all these things that other people have that I didn't, blah, 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 all this stuff you have when you're in your 20s. Now that I'm in business for myself, well, with the Art of Charm team, especially, I mean, I don't own the whole thing alone, obviously. And you guys heard Johnny on here as well. He's a significantly different personality, but have it to say the least, right?
Yeah.
But to have that, looking at things my parents taught me, I'm like, oh my God, they had 34-year-old me in mind when they thought about this. Whereas that wasn't super suitable for 24-year-old me. So being able to get there earlier has really made it cool because now I can really enjoy, my parents and I can really enjoy the things that they taught me, applying it all the time. And just being somebody who creates non-products but services, I realized so much, traveling for work or business. I went to North Korea actually for pleasure. I take groups of people of AOC alumni, Art of Charm alumni. I often open up my North Korea trips to them as well because I know that they're not going to be crazy and they're going to be, respectful and things like that. I travel to places like that, and I just realized how good we have it here in the States, how good we have it in the Western world, especially. And if you live in Europe, I mean, you have it unsustainably good right now. And that kind of leads me to one of the other points in the article as well, is just like be mindful of what you consume. I'm 34 now, and it doesn't have to do with just what I eat. Well, let me put it this way. I drank this past weekend, a little bit, went out with some friends. I think I had a hangover for like 3 straight days, probably still sleeping it off, dealing with that. My body just doesn't recover like it used to. So that has to do with drink. If I binge eat, and I don't mean like literally binge eat like you probably see on TV, but if I just don't watch what I eat for a while, maybe don't make it to the gym or something like that, I realize my body doesn't recover. But most of all, I think the thing we have to be really careful about is the information that we consume, because there's so much info out there. I mean, you and I are creating huge amounts of it ourselves, and it's just really hard to figure out what's worth reading, what's worth listening to. And one of the primary reasons that I run the Art of Charm podcast is because, man, there's so much garbage out there that in order to filter through it all, I literally have an army of assistant producers, our audience, looking for the best guys. And then I want to talk to them directly. I don't want to I don't want to read their whole blog or their whole book anthem to figure out what's important. And it's just, you got to be really careful. You've got to do like information spring cleaning on your brain. Look at what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, social media, all that stuff. And you've got to really be careful with it, because and especially with the social media, being perceived, and I put this in the article as well that's on your site, being perceived as an intelligent man by people around you is like 10% how smart you actually are, and 90% of the information that you consume from other sources. So you can get a lot by reading and getting in the right sources of information in your brain. And you can really do yourself a disservice by collecting information from just whatever source. I mean, would you drink water from wherever you found it? No. But yet and would you eat something that you found on the floor at Walmart? Like, no. But people will take information from any moron on the web that's like, no, trust me, you're never going to have sex again unless you use these 3 weird tips and this goldfish. Like, no, it's not real. It's not going to happen. That person is trying to take your money, and you just got to be really careful. And so it's taken me years to kind of realize this, but I kind of realized that I've been doing a lot of it subconsciously for years, especially for the AOC audience. But it's been very, very important to make sure that just to make sure that I stay sane, because anybody knows now who reads a lot. I've got an assistant producer. He reads a book every day. He's still not even coming close to the amount of stuff that I'm throwing at him. We had to get him some help. So that should tell you, I mean, it takes me longer than a day to read a book. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, right. And not only just consuming content from the internet, like content online, but the people you surround yourself with. Like, these people are constantly giving you content from their mouth, and just the way that they act, the way they behave, and their habits will slowly become yours. So it's also your environment and where you live. And this is also going to dictate a lot of how you think.
Well, yeah, because there's that old Jim Rohn quote, right? You only go as high as your 5 closest friends. And I think even Bill Cosby has a similar one that's like, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And that's extremely important, because it really does make sense. You can be around, it's not just because your friends are hanging out at nice restaurants and you meet connections there. It's very non-tangible / practical sort of tip. But what that actually means is because a lot of those mindsets, a lot of that stuff, that head trash that other people have, will definitely rub off on you. I mean, it will definitely come out in the worst way, namely subconsciously as well. If you don't know what you're doing, if you hang around people with bad business practice, if you hang around like shady internet marketers when you're trying to run a legit startup or something like that, you can really run into some walls because you start taking on mindsets and business practices of people that are out for a quick buck rather than people who are trying to deliver value. They're out for short-term cash, et cetera. And it's just really, really not something that's going to get you very far if you're looking to have a sustainable business over the long term.
Yeah, and equally, just like going out, if people around you are drinking, doing drugs, then you're gonna fall into that. And it's not like you're gonna say no to people that you've known all your life. It's if you're around people who are doing those types of things, and this is your community, then you're gonna feel like, oh, this is what my community's doing. This is what I should be doing. Well, on the contrary, if you're to do this and hang out with people who go to the gym and eat healthy all the time and they're in great shape, then just through osmosis, you're going to be doing those things and you're going to become a part of that group.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, the reverse is also true. Like you'd mentioned, like you can hang out. I hang out with guys that are in great shape. And sometimes I find myself being, it's so funny. I find myself being like, I really wanted to go to the unhealthy place, but we went to the healthy place. I see how this works, in a very tangible way. You can see how it works. And I'll talk to my other friends, even the hardcore guys who love to go out all the time and stuff. It's kind of funny because they'll be like, yo, man, let's go to this event and we'll pre-drink at this guy's house and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, man, how do you guys do it? And then of course, I look at them later and they're just they work super hard. They go to the gym every morning early. You can't look at people and go, oh, well, he does it and he gets away with it, because you don't really know. The work hard, play hard. When I worked on Wall Street, it was funny because a lot of my friends were like, man, you guys are always out. You're always getting bottle service at some bar. And I'm thinking, this is my first night out in 6 days. I've been at the office 20 hours a day since I last saw you. But, people filter it in and filter it out. So you've got to be careful to don't compare yourself to other people, because you just don't know the full story. And, there's a lot of people. Earlier in the Art of Charm's history, some people stole from AJ and I. They stole intellectual property and they stole coaching clients and things like that because they were like, oh, AJ and Jordan, they just sit around and cash checks, screw those guys. And they left and they tried to sort of clone what we do. And man, they just failed so fast and so hard that I remember hearing not even a year later, they were like, yeah, so-and-so is homeless. And I'm like, man, that was really fast, but you don't know the whole story. So whenever you start to compare yourself to other people, it's a losing battle because you compare the worst of yourself to the idealized version of them, even if that has to do with business, health, wealth, relationships, any field.
Okay, let's just keep going here. I don't want to change this topic here. You got a ton of lessons to share.
Yeah, I mean, planning for your future, that's something hopefully you're doing in your 20s, but just even looking at your business, this is something you should be looking at, not just for yourself, but for your business as well. A lot of people are like, oh, I have an IRA and I contribute. If you're trying to start a business, start to think more long-term. And as soon as you're in your 30s, you start to do that. But I've noticed that guys who are in their 20s that do it, man, they're so far ahead of the game. They are just so far ahead of the game. And you can just get so much further when you adopt these mindsets. Another thing that I made no time or no headway on when I was in my 20s was prioritizing my time. I went to work, I went to the gym, and, definitely in your 30s, you need to go to the gym. It's no longer like something you do before spring break or to look cool or like feel good or hang out with your buddies. Now it's like a mandatory piece of your life that if it's not in order, you are in deep doo-doo. And you can't also, though, like friends-wise or business-wise, you can't let everyone in. Especially once you get successful, everybody wants to be your friend. Everybody wants to hang around you. Everybody wants to be a part of your life. And you cannot do it. There's just no way. There's no way around it. So prioritizing getting your time right is really one of the few things that I still to this day struggle with here and there, but also is one of the most important things. And I know that a lot of most entrepreneurs that I know, it's always a time problem because at first it's a money problem. How am I going to survive? and shortly after that, it becomes a priorities problem. How do I know what to work on? Because a lot of stuff's working, and, managing sort of ROI on your time and your investment of time and money. But at the top level, or at least the top level that I have seen, both personally and with other entrepreneurs, and and this still seems to hold true even at like the Mark Cuban level, is it's all about time. And because it's the old cliche, right? We all have 24 hours in a day, and it's how you spend it, but you still got to get your sleep right. So when you take away from that, and a lot of people don't realize different people need different amounts of sleep health wise. And, it's not something you can change. And a lot of people will say, oh, you totally can, blah, 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 blah. And it's not. I mean, some people need 6 hours of sleep. Luckily, I'm one of them. Some people need 10. I'm not. And my girlfriend needs significantly more sleep than me. And it can be a problem. It's one of the like legitimate unfair advantages that I think some people have in life is needing less sleep. I saw it first when I was in law school because I could study more than most people. And then I saw it again on Wall Street where, I was awake without substances, and other people were not they were not able to do that. And honestly, that became a really interesting dividing line. And it wasn't super black and white, right? I'm not saying like, oh, you got to change your sleep pattern. What I'm saying is you look at, let's say that I need 6 hours of sleep and you need 10. Well, I literally have 4 more hours in a day. But then if you also start to break down your time into the finer points, everyone listening right now is like, I have no time. And it's funny because it's like, you ever hear that stupid story? Everyone's heard this where it's like a professor puts rocks in a jar and asks the class, is the jar full? And the class says yes. And then he pours the sand in there, blah, 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 whatever. You've heard that, right? That's totally what time is like for me. And by the way, hint, if you haven't heard that story, a professor puts rocks in a jar, asks the class if it's full. Everyone says yes. Then he puts some light gravel in the jar. Now he asks if it's full. Everyone says yes. Then he puts sand in the jar. Everyone asks if it's full. Everybody says yes. Then blah, 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 water, whatever. And now it's like, oh, now it's really full, whatever. But that's what it is like with time. I remember in college, and I still get email from guys who want to come through our charm programs, and it's a week long. It's in LA, and we should talk about your experience there as well. But a lot of these college guys will go, I have no time. I'm in college. And I have to laugh to myself because I'm like, I would have said the exact same thing when I was in college, which, by the way, was the time in my life where I had so much time that looking back on it, I literally had no idea what to do with myself most of the time. And I would kill to have that much time, free time now. And back then I was like, oh my God, I have to like study for anthropology. And then there's that thing tonight at my friend's frat. And then like the next day I've got an exam later in the week. So I got to study for that. I literally have 10 times more than that in any given day now than I did back in college, but it still seems full. And so the more you can sort of force yourself to realize that you do have time, you haven't been busy until you've blocked a day off in 15-minute increments and found out that you still can't fit everything in there before you go to bed. That's been my reality up until I started to get a handle on it. And that is not a good feeling. So if you can build habits, and I won't pretend to be time management guru on your show today, but if you can start to build those habits in your 20s and 30s, your quality of life is going to shoot through the freaking roof, dude.
I mean, yeah, time is finite. If you don't spend it, then you lose it and you'll never get it back. So you have to understand that the time you have is the time that you're going to get for today. And then today's gone forever. And so how you use it and how you spend it is going to dictate, what kind of outcomes and results that you get. Anything else, Jordan, on time?
The idea that people need to spend all their time working is another sort of fallacy that's hit me real hard in the face recently. And I've been such a workaholic for years on the Art of Charm. I love it. Passion's not even the right word for it. But when my girlfriend, I started living with my girlfriend here in California, and she literally forced me to take Sundays off because she's a CPA and you take Sunday off and, at least we have a day to spend together. And then I realized, wow, that day's going by really fast. How about I take weekends, which is like an unbelievably novel thought for me to take a full weekend off on a regular basis. So I started doing that and she was really excited about it. And now I realize that my productive time is so much more productive and so much more fruitful than it was when I felt like I could just work and work and work. That now I literally, yes, I look forward to weekends, but I also look forward to the work week to get things done. And that's a really interesting balance that I've never had before, because you get to do a ton of really cool stuff during the week, but it doesn't spill over into your weekend, and you get to spend that time with people that you love, and it really re-energizes you. Just as me doing a whole bunch of work during the work week energizes me to chill out on the weekend. And it's kind of hard to explain without using a bunch of lame cliches that everyone's heard. But I urge you, if you guys are overworking yourself, force yourself to take time off. And I don't mean lay in front of the TV and do nothing. That's just as painful as anything. But go out, go for a bike ride, call a friend, set up a dinner, turn your phone off during that. And I know that it will create a crap load of anxiety at first, because like, oh my God, I'm disconnected and I have so many things to do and but you need it. You need it more than you think you need it. And trust me, I was the guy who thought I never needed a break. And now that I started taking breaks, I realize, wow, I needed those all along. And it's not like breaking the seal, where you drink and go to the bathroom. It's like, oh crap, now I need breaks all the time. Now I realize, like I said, my working time is actually much more productive. I'm getting a lot more done in a lot less time because I created that quote unquote balance. And I never knew that was going to happen. If someone told me that, someone told me my work time was going to be better and more productive by way of taking breaks, I would have done it years ago. But instead, I just thought people who asked for time off or told me to relax were chumps that had crappy work ethic. And it's totally not the case. I mean, maybe it is for some, but for me, it ended up being a godsend that I wish I'd thought of years ago.
Yeah, and you probably spend Monday through Friday, and when you're working more, you spend that time more effectively, because you know that you can't do it. You can't just postpone it till the weekend, or you can't just work longer hours. This needs to get done. Otherwise, I need to outsource it, or you manage your time and your team probably more effectively.
Right. And here's the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, but I can take care of extra tasks on the weekend. But there's some sort of mindset shift that I haven't explored maybe fully enough on my own, because it doesn't matter. But the mindset shift, somewhere in your brain, you're going, well, I didn't finish this thing on Tuesday, but you know what? I'll do it on Saturday. I've got a block of time. I'll do work. And then you do that every single day of your work week. What happens is on the weekend, you fill that with other stuff anyway, and you end up with a ton of work that you need to catch up on, but you don't actually get a lot of that stuff done during the week, and you feel unrested and unwell during that time, and it's not actually helpful at all. So it doesn't do anything for you to continually bust your butt like during the week and the weekend. And the other thing is that you're right. You start to figure out, here's how I delegate stuff. Here's how I work out, what I need to do and what other people can do. Or maybe there's a job that needs to be created, or maybe I need an assistant, or maybe more likely, maybe this XYZ task set doesn't even need to be done at all. And you'll find a lot of that. And here's the thing, that's scalability. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs don't know, is you have to figure out that stuff, not so you get more free time and blah, 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 4-hour work week or something. No, it's because even if you work 24/7, 365, you still are limiting your ability. One, impossible, two, miserable. Even if you did work a 70-hour work week, you'd be miserable. But you can start to scale, and it's not for the purposes of free time. You will make more money and you will have more free time if you scale. Yes, your profit margins will be different because you have other people working for you, but it's the only way to take your company from like $1 to $5 to $10+ million. Before I thought I could do all that stuff. My whole team here, me, AJ, Johnny, all the guys from the Art of Charm, Justin, we thought we could just work like ridiculous manic freaks and get it all done and take us to that level, but we couldn't. We needed to scale. We actually ended up hiring a CEO above us to do this stuff because we wanted to be able to do the parts that mattered. And that was an interesting experiment because we basically hired our own boss. Like, no, who does that?
Wow. Yeah. I'm going to touch on that. But when you outsource and hire other people, you're not just like giving away that project to someone. You're giving it to someone who went to school, who's qualified, who's been doing this for years. So the quality of the work is going to be much better too.
Exactly. Yeah. That's another thing, is speciality, of course. And now we're sort of getting down the business road, but if you're a young entrepreneur and you're starting off, you probably do need to be like sales, marketing, content, blah, 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 all by yourself. But once you get to a certain level, you're actually kind of being a dumbass if you think you're going to be the salesman and the writer and the producer and the editor and the accountant. I mean, you're really just totally doing yourself a disservice. And that's quality of life issues aside.
Yeah, definitely. And what's that like hiring a CEO for yourself, hiring your own boss?
At first, you feel like kind of a moron because you're like, this guy's telling me what to do. It's not like he's get in my office right now. I mean, hiring a CEO that works at your pleasure, I guess, and they say at the pleasure of the board, it's different than hiring a manager above you at a fast food restaurant, who can hire and fire you. But those people coordinate things for you. So you know that you're being stupid. It's like hiring a consultant that is all up in your business all the time and actually helps you execute things. So it's kind of funny because a lot of companies hire consultants. They get a ton of new ideas and plans and stuff, and then they just never execute. It's really funny because that happens all the time, and it's the chief complaint of consultants everywhere, aside from staying at crappy motels in the middle of nowhere. But you've got this guy above you who's like, we need to do this, 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 and this. And you can argue all you want, but like, he's run the numbers. He's coordinated with all the other departments. He's done all the red tape. He's talked to the lawyers to make sure it's legit. He's spoken to potential hires that are going to help with that project. I mean, that job sucks. I don't care what anybody says. I know some people love being the CEO, but when I talk to CEOs of real companies, and when I talk to CEOs that are CEOs on a business card and their company really has 5 employees, and they're like, oh, 4-hour work week, I live in Santa Monica on the beach type of CEOs, there's a huge difference. And we kind of call them CE egos because it's really a CEO who doesn't do all of the stuff that everyone hates in a business. It's not really doing CEO work. He's just got a fancy title. I was kind of doing CEO stuff for Art of Charm. And I was like, this really sucks. And people go, well, yeah, you're the CEO, And I was like, I don't know if I want this job. I don't know if I like this job. And same with AJ. AJ took over right after me. And he was like, hey, this is really stressful and not really my area of expertise. I really like coaching and running the programs. We need somebody who can do this and isn't going to go crazy. And so that's what happened. I mean, we brought in a CEO. We actually poached him from Fox Mobile, and he used to work for Disney as well. So like, this is a really good guy running the Art of Charm behind the scenes. And it's great because now I can do podcasts, talk to potential clients, do media, create stuff. I don't have to go, what's up with taxes for, blah, blah, blah. How are we going to manage our line of credit this month? I just don't care. It's not my thing.
Yeah, I can relate in some cases there. And so we got a little off topic there with the business talk and entrepreneurship, but good content, good stuff. And just coming back, let's finish up with some of the things, or like what would be like a big takeaway, something that you've learned when building the Art of Charm in the last what is it, like 9 years now, 8-9 years?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, probably the biggest takeaway that I've gotten is, I see every client that comes into the Art of Charm generally, so give or take. So I see and talk to for a long time everybody, and I hear from guys that are like 45 that go, I think I'm too old for this. And I'm like, man, we just had a client who was 55 in here. What are you talking about? And then I'll get a client an hour and a half later, who's 27, and he goes, I think I'm probably just too old for this. And I'm tearing my hair out because I'm 34 and I know I'm not too old for pretty much anything other than military service, thank God. So I'm not in birthday parties. I'm too old for birthday parties. Well, maybe, debatably. But here's the thing, you're not too old to change. You're more set in your ways maybe than you were in your 20s, but honestly, now you're more self-aware. Now you know what changes need to be made. You don't have to reinvent yourself every 5 minutes like you did in your 20s, but you can make these changes last. You can form habits. You can create habits in your life that are positive, that are not going to mess you up later. You can undo a lot of what you did in the 20s that are probably still haunting you, but it always requires a lot of work. And I think now when you're in your 30s, you're actually much more financially capable, emotionally capable of doing that work. And you know what? That's probably the best thing about being in your 30s that you could possibly have. And I've heard it only gets better in your 40s as well, because you're really, really in charge of yourself. This is the time in your life when you can do it. And I'm not just saying that, like, it's not like you can do it. It's like, no, you can. You're smart enough. You've made it this far. You've probably got your stuff together more or less enough to be able to make whatever you want to happen. you don't have the naivete that you had in your 20s, but you also have far more capability and far more drive than you did back then as well. Most of us anyway.
Yeah. And so now let's talk about the Art of Charm boot camp, the experience that I had. So what we can do is, why don't you put me in the hot seat? Why don't you kind of interview me on my show? I mean, you got a podcast, so you know what to do here.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can do that. Let's see here. So you came through the program. I mean, first of all, what sort of prompted you to come through, and make big changes in your life? And then, here, we'll start there and then I'll take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, the past few years I've been on this journey where I'm trying new things, experimenting with new things, going to live events, meeting new people, putting myself in just different environments and trying to create new experiences in my life. And of course, taking programs is one of them. So, I just want to grow and learn. And you're never done. It's something that I've come to realize is you're never done. You don't reach a point where you're just like, oh, I've made it, this is it, I'm at a level of success. You just keep going, and that's what the journey is about. So I've been to similar programs. I take massive action in my life, and I would say my dating life is pretty good. I mean, last week I had 3 dates with 3 different girls, and it's not, it's just because we're talking about this boot camp, so I'm sharing. So when I saw the opportunity, of course I went for it. I'm all about growth, learning, and applying.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you filled out a form on your own website on knowledgeformen.com/AOC. There's this forum for guys that don't know that can get in touch with a coach here, figure out if our programs are a good fit. And I saw this thing come through and I'm like, yo, is this something you're testing? And it's like, nah, I'm kind of wanting to check it out. So I'm like, okay, awesome. So I think that's kind of funny. And guys, that form, Andrew, that form's still up there, right? knowledgeformen.com/AOC for guys to do the strategy call.
Yeah, of course. knowledgeformen.com/AOC, and that'll give you access to get a strategy call with Jordan Harbinger, or one of the other leaders or founders. So, I mean, it's just straight line access. Like, you're not going to talk to some random person. You're going to talk to most likely Jordan.
Yeah, and that's a great place for guys that are like, this sounds cool, but I don't know where to begin. Go ahead and check that out. I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. And so what did you get out of the program? I mean, you came through the program. When you got there, well, first of all, how was it during, in the moment?
Yeah, well, it's summer right now, so Los Angeles is just really beautiful. Well, most parts of it. It's just a great location right on Hollywood Boulevard. That's hands on, you're in a great location. That means a lot because you're going to be living there I was there for 6 days. So right when you step out of the building, you're on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And from the apartment window, you can see the Hollywood sign, and you can see the Hollywood Hills. And it's a great spot. It's beautiful. And, right when I got in, I came in late. It was Hollywood traffic. But, the other students or basically I was curious to see who these people were, but they're also on this path of personal development. I mean, if someone's willing to invest in themselves and fly down to Los Angeles or drive down there, it's this person's willing to, he's a part of, personal growth, and he's willing to take action. So really cool guys. One of the guys was a big real estate investor from Texas. There was a lawyer, also from San Diego, a psychologist, that was from Los Angeles, and there was a mathematician, from Florida, and there was another guy that was in the military. And so it was a wide variety of students. And then there was also an engineer from Georgia. So really cool group, a lot of high level guys, and the ages range from anywhere from 22 all the way up to 50. So it was a great group of guys.
What do you think of the drills and exercises? Because you were in that group with a bunch of guys of different ages. What did you think about how it ran? Because I know a lot of times older guys are like, oh, I don't know. And younger guys are like, oh, I don't know. I've got to be in this clique. But I think guys generally at AOC, and I'll let you speak to this, they click really fast and you become a cohesive unit pretty damn quick.
Yeah. I mean, it really wasn't hard at all. It probably took about 4 hours for the guys to really start rocking together. I mean, we're all there trying to have a good time, listening to great instruction, and then just applying what we learned right on the spot with female instructors. So it was a good experience that you get to see other guys like approach the female instructor. So it's kind of like, embarrassing for some guys, and it's fun. And through that, it kind of creates like a strong bond between the group. And then coming out of that, you leave the apartment building and then go out and do different activities and missions. So, it didn't take long at all.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. Because, sometimes you do think, there's a guy in here who's 50, guys in here who's 30, and a guy in here who's like 22. What's the deal? But, it's Hollywood. It's LA. It's right on Hollywood Boulevard. You're living together for that whole time. So it is pretty intense. And I know that going out, I mean, what did you think of the actual drills and exercises, the results that you were getting in field after you did the drills and after you did the exercises?
Yeah, well, I came in with a good skill set, and what I was able to do and get out of AOC was really fine tune the fundamentals. And I know that doesn't sound too impressive, but hold on a second. It's like I trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the best fighters that I knew were the ones who had a strong foundation of the fundamentals, the ones who really understood and just mastered the fundamentals and took it to a high level. Sometimes, if you're looking at like UFC, it's like sometimes the best fighters who have held their belt the longest are sometimes the most simple fighters, and they're not too flashy, and they just continue to get the win. They continue to win the decision. They continue to keep, hold the belt for a long time. An example would be George St. Pierre. He's not really a flashy fighter. But when you look at his career, it's like he's got tons of wins. He's held his belt a long time, but not really too flashy. He gets the job done. So sometimes you think you need to be advanced in order to get results. You're like, oh, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep doing this. You're trying to find some advanced technique. Yet when really all you need to do is just go back to the fundamentals and clean up some of those holes. So instead of forcing yourself with advanced material that isn't really necessary to get the results that you want, just focus on the fundamentals. And that's what I was able to pull out. So, for the guys listening, there are no secrets. It's the fundamentals that get the results.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people are trying to do like a triple sow cow, roundhouse kick on the first day. And it's like, no, how about eye contact, vocal tonality, body language, the way you sit, stand, walk, and talk? And speaking of that, what did you think of the video work? Because and you wrote about this a little bit in your article on your site, but like we film you interacting with our female instructors. How awkward was that at first?
Yeah, seriously. I was kind of like dumbfounded, like, whoa, we're actually doing this? And then just Justin, the instructor who's leading the event, is like, he whips out the camera and it just starts filming you. And there's the girl, beautiful girl, and you have to go talk to her, and you have to kind of practice some of the things that was just taught. So, you don't really realize what you look like with the girl until you see yourself on camera. It's like I have years of experience, and I've always thought that I'm doing pretty good with my body language and stuff. But when you see yourself and you see how you sound, you're just like, wow, didn't know I was doing that. Didn't know that I was like rubbing my fingers. Didn't know that like I'm like patting my thighs. Didn't know these little things that girls can pick up on, and it can kind of throw her off, or it can definitely help or go against you. So body language, vocal tonality, and just having a conversation with the woman when you are supposed to engage her and flirt and attract. So also feedback from the woman and male instructor on the spot is critical. That's probably where you get like a bulk of your education, is just like you apply it, you learn something from in like a classroom setting, you apply it in real time, and then you get to watch yourself on video, and then it gets broken down by a female and male instructor. And it doesn't just happen once. It's not like, all right, guys, it's the big day. It's like it happens repeatedly. It's like immersion. It's like all day you're doing this for 6 days. So it's real-time immersion.
Now, it's not just, I just want to be clear, because it's not just approach. There's a lot of deeper stuff. Did you explore some of that stuff during program? I mean, I know you must have, but did you go deep with the instructors that you were with? And how did you feel about the results, especially like when you went on the mock date or when you did like storytelling? There's a lot of times when we do the storytelling exercise, there's some tears and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the storytelling was really about connecting with someone and being vulnerable. So there was some good moments there, and it kind of bonded the group together and kind of changes the way that you normally have conversations with people and just, storytelling. In the mock date, that was awesome. I didn't even know that was happening, but you do a mock date with a beautiful girl at a coffee shop in Los Angeles. And it's a half-hour date, and it's a real date. So that's a great experience. I felt like this could be huge for someone to get a live date, and you get a report card and from the girl, and then you get feedback from the instructors after the date. So, I've been on quite a few dates, and I just took it as, all right, let's have fun, see where this goes, and I'll apply what I learned, and just had a good time. But for people who don't normally date on a weekly basis, then this could be huge. Because if you haven't been on a date in a while, this is going to be great feedback. Because how often are you going to get a girl give you feedback on a date? I mean, usually that doesn't happen. Usually the only feedback we men can sometimes get is just a girl doesn't respond to us. They don't text us or call us back. So it was a great experience. I think it could be huge for a lot of guys.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate it, man, and I'm glad he has such a good time. And I want to I feel like I derailed this a little bit, but I was very curious about your experience at boot camp, and want to make sure that other guys are comfortable reaching out as well, because you did set up that form, knowledgeformen.com/AOC, in case guys are interested in talking about that stuff, and we don't have to invade your ears any more than we already have.
Yeah, and I go to a lot of programs, and I don't really talk about them. Like, I constantly go to programs and events. It's what I love doing it. Okay. And this one here at the Art of Charm is a solid program that delivers results. And at the end of the day, that's really all that matters, is did you get a result? Or did you just get excited and motivated and nothing happened? So my thinking at the time was, okay, I have some money. What can I buy? What am I going to do with this money? But really, when you think about it, what are you going to do with that money? What was I going to do with that money? What was I going to do with that thing that I was going to buy? Because I feel like we buy stuff to make us happy. Like, whenever we're buying something, as long as it's not like survival, like food or something, but it's really just to make us happy, right? But what I've come to understand through personal development is that happiness comes from within, and that there's nothing that you can really externally purchase, like as an item, and that's just going to make you happy. Even other people. Like, you got to be happy with yourself in order for you to be happy with someone else. So it doesn't matter what you own, it matters who you are. And so when you develop yourself from within and you consciously work on this area of your life, you're happy the way you are. And just being that and feeling that is actually like a priceless investment. It's something that even millionaires and billionaires don't even have, because they didn't do the work. So I think the best investment you can make is the one in yourself. I'll wrap this up, but if you're interested in talking to Jordan, you can check out knowledgeformen.com/AOC, and he can answer any questions you have. So again, Jordan, thanks for coming back on the show, being the first guest to do a repeat visit, and thanks for sharing your lessons with us here today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you so much for coming and checking out the program. And of course, I'm glad that you had such an amazing time. So much appreciated. Pleasure's all mine.
All right, and that's going to wrap up episode 79 with Jordan Harbinger. All right, and the challenge item that I have for you guys today is to do something for yourself today. Do one thing for you. Something that's good for you, whatever that means to you. Does it mean like, I'm going to go and get a nice coffee, or I'm going to pay extra for a better coffee. I'm going to go to Jamba Juice and get a nice smoothie. I'm going to do some yoga today. Like, I'm going to go to the gym. Like, I'm going to go for a run. Do something for you. What is it that you want to do? Now, I'm not suggesting you go out and do something that's bad for you, like go out and drink or party and get messed up. No, do something that's good for you, but do it for you. Do it for you. That's it. I think all too often we get caught up in trying to, push ourselves to grow. I know I do. I know that I often just constantly fill up my days and my weeks with just like busy, busy, busy. And I love what I do, so it's easy for me to do it. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's just so nice to be able just to like go lay out in a park and just put on some music on your headphones and just like relax and be with yourself. It's just very peaceful and relaxing. So if you want to do that, go do it. But otherwise, do something for you. That's it. Until next time, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast show. It's been a pleasure having you be a part of a thriving community of men who want to crush it in all aspects of life. I'm on a mission here to inspire millions of guys, and with your help, we're going to make a dent in the universe. Check out knowledgeformen.com for a ton of free content that's designed to help you live a remarkable life. Again, that's knowledgeformen.com. I hope to see you there. And always remember, 2014 is the official year of the crush, where we take action to get the life we've always dreamed of. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and until next time, let's do it.